Alright, hi there everyone, welcome back to the observatory. So this is just a very quick update video on some latest change I've made to the observatory. So as you've probably seen in previous video, if you'd noticed it, this was the installation of the mini PCs for each of the telescope rigs, and although it's been working great, there is one or two little hiccups that I've had that have necessitated me doing this change. So as you've maybe seen in the previous video when I was talking about how do I start them up and things like that, normally I would leave the PCs on, just shut them down normally, and then use Wake on LAN, which the machines support. However, this wasn't always 100% reliable, and occasionally, doing a Wake on LAN, nothing would happen, and then remote desktop or Rust Desk or whatever remote desktop tool I was using wouldn't connect to the network or could connect to the machines. And occasionally, being Windows, sometimes you just need to do a reboot, which would obviously necessitate coming down to the observatory. So what I decided to do was install some more of the BasicR2 SOnOff wireless relays into the power supplies to the PCs, and then it'll give me control from locally on the units via the phone through the eWeLink app or over Home Assistant. So if I have a quick look under the desk, so here's the setup. So what I've done, each of these relays is rated for 240 volts, 10 amps, so well within the 120 watt power bricks for each of the mini PCs. So I took a single supply in, which is obviously rated for the total maximum load, branched it off through this chocolate block and into each of the mini PC power bricks, because one other thing that I did find was occasionally these units that came with the mini PCs, even though the computer was shut down and not under any load or anything, occasionally they would go to sleep or do something weird, and actually the green light went out on the unit, so the machines wouldn't start, and I had to disconnect and reconnect the power to kick the power supplies back into life again. Now I did reach out to Minis Forum about this issue, and they said yeah, they would replace them, but obviously that'll take weeks, knowing what the supply chains and things are like. So in the meantime, this mod that I've done anyway will actually help the situation, because it can remotely power on and off the supply, which kicks the power supply back into life again. Alright, so obviously with having these three here, and I wasn't very keen on having all the single core live mains voltage visible, and the chocolate block with the exposed terminals on it. So what I did is I knocked up a quick sketch, took some very rough measurements, and I modelled that in Tinkercad, which we'll see later, and I came up with this cover, and this fits perfectly over the top, allowing cable connections into each side, and it also gives me access to the buttons to turn them on and off should I need to, and it also prevents accidentally leaning something against the buttons and turning off the PC, running the chair into them or hitting them with my knee or something like that. So this absolutely fits absolutely perfectly, so I was very surprised that from a first measure and first modelling and first print, it worked quite well. So now I'm just going to screw it into place. There we have it. So all the covers, the mains cables are all hidden underneath here, and then distributing out to each of the PCs, and I've got access to the buttons, which is great. So the other thing I had to do is, obviously in these mini PC BIOS, there's a setting in there that allows you to reboot the PC when it detects a power restore. So when I fire up the PC, it'll start the computer and we'll be booting straight into Windows, which is just ideal. So let's take a quick look at the BIOS. Okay, so here we are in the main BIOS from one of the machines, and we're in the main, so we go across to advanced, and here's the option restore on AC power loss, and I've switched that to always on, and this means that the computer will boot up when the power is established, which is absolutely ideal. So I can save an exit that, and out we go. Alright, so here we are, we're back inside the house, and here's the 3D part that I modelled from those dimensions that I took, and then 3D printed it on my new printer. And actually there is the time lapse from the printout happening, which is great to see how it churns out during the build. And there we have it. So anyway, if we go across to Home Assistant, here we can see my normal Home Assistant window for the Home Assistant server that I've built for all the observatory. We've got the video cameras at the top, we've got the weather forecast, and we've got the weather conditions in the observatory, etc. And then I've got visibility of the power systems and the networks and everything inside the observatory. So here down on the right hand side, the third column, the one where my mouse is, around the middle of the screen, you'll see I've added in these 3 button chips, PC Rig 1, PC Rig 2 and PC Rig 3. These are now the power controls for that new SOnOff wireless relays that I've installed. And then the 3 buttons below that say PC1WL. So these are the wake on LAN controls. So if the power is on and I've shut the PC down, then I can use wake on LAN usually to kick it into life. And if there's any other problems, I can obviously power off the unit and reboot them. Particularly if there's been an issue with remote desktop, or it's not connecting, or there's something weird going on. Maybe Windows Update's done a run and it's rebooted the machine and it's thrown itself out into a bit of confusion. So as you can see here, as I say, PC Rig 1, the power is showing green, and the wake on LAN has detected that the machine is actually up and running. And then on the right hand one, the PC Rig 3, we can see the power is off, and the wake on LAN confirms that it can't detect the machine running in the background. So I can easily fire up PC Rig 1 just by clicking the button, and the machine will now boot into life, however long that takes, 30 seconds or so, and then I'll be able to remote desktop onto that machine. So I've already got PC Rig 1, and here's the remote desktop into PC Rig 1, and I've got normal control as usual. So I can, if I want, shut the unit down from here. The remote desktop will disconnect, and everything is hunky-dory again. And then the PC1 wake on LAN will detect that the machine's gone off, and there we go. We can see that the unit's shut down, but we're still supplying the PC with power. And if I don't want to have the background power running on the unit, I can just click the PC Rig 1 to shut the actual power off to the PC. And likewise, I've got control of these wireless relays from my phone, as well as Home Assistant, and as I said, from the little button on the front of these wireless relays. So there we have it. That was just a very quick update to the power systems for supplying the mini PCs in the observatory, and the options for bringing them on remotely, powering them up remotely, waking them up remotely, and shutting them down should I need to as well. So there we have it. That's all for today. We'll speak to you later. Cheers guys everyone, and thanks for watching.